So I sat down and he came back and took my temperature again. And I think it was 37.8. And he looked at me like, what's going on? And I'm like, hey guys, it's Christina and welcome to another video about living here in Da Nang, Vietnam. And in today's video, I want to share with you my experience getting tested. Now, I just came back from getting tested right now. So if you see that I am super sweaty, I'm sorry about that, but it's super hot outside. So please bear with me. I'm so sorry if you see I look this way. But anyway, I want to share with you guys my experience and also give you some information if you're living here in Da Nang as well. I did talk about the fact that they were going to test the entire population, and it did happen this week for us. We're actually on lockdown week number 5, and that's when they decided to test our area. Now, there are different locations that you can go to, and prior to us getting the information that we needed to go get tested, they did offer some testing where you can just walk in and go tested, but for the most part, you got the information through your landlord, or you would get the information on your door with a code for you to go get tested. Now, I'm going to show you guys the footage because Ralph and I just went there. But before that, I want to give you some tips if you guys haven't been there yet. The first thing I would tell you is to bring a water bottle, a cold water bottle, because it depends where you go. You might end up going to a really nice resort, or you might end up being outside like we were. So if you're going to be outside, it is really hot. It's very beautiful today, but it's really hot outside. So I would definitely recommend you bring your own water bottle. Also bring like a little snack because you don't know how long the lines are going to be. So please keep that in mind. And it's also mandatory for you to bring your passport, and I would recommend bringing a pen because you need to fill out a form. Okay, so first of all, when we received our information that we needed to go get tested today on the 25th, the time frame was between 7:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. However, we heard about this on Saturday or Sunday, so we didn't have the time to change our schedule around. So what we decided to do is to just come a little bit later. What you will see on the first footage is that when we got there, the place was actually closed. So I believe they opened between 7:30 a.m. and then 12. They probably take a break or lunch break around that time. And then they start again from 2 p.m. I don't know until when. Anyway, so when we got there, you guys will see the first clip that, you know, the place is basically closed. And there was a little note that said, please come back at 2 p.m. Sorry. And we tried to go, we got there at 1:50 p.m. and there were already a couple of lines. I was trying to rush through. I didn't take that much footage because I don't know if you were allowed to film. I don't know how they would feel about our filming. So I just took a couple of quick videos. So I'm so sorry about that if you guys wanted to see more. But anyway, so there were a couple of lines. There was a first line when you walk in, you get a form. And the form was asking you for basic information, and then you had to have your passport for them to double check your information, like the time that you actually got into Da Nang. And then the second line, they would basically like separate us and make sure that you fill out the form correctly. And then the third line, I had to tell you something very interesting. When I got to the second line, they took my temperature. They were taking everybody's temperature. And the guy took my temperature and it was 37.6. And he looked at me and he said, oh, it's pretty high. And I'm like, come on, 0.6 is not really that high, but whatever. And plus, first of all, I didn't say that. We were sitting outside, standing outside, and it's really, really hot. So I didn't think anything of it because obviously like it's hot outside. So I was just sitting. And then he's like, okay, just sit down for a little bit because we were in line in the sun. So I sat down and he came back and took my temperature again. And I think it was 37.8. And he looked at me like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm still hot. It's still hot. Like, and so when it got up to the second time where it was 37.8, he had me and this other girl, we had to go sit on basically a little area on the side, a little area on the right before the third line where we could sit down and basically stay in the shade. It was a cooler area. So we basically had to sit there for maybe like 5-10 minutes max. I would say 5 minutes. And then we got back into the third line and then they checked my temperature again. And he's like, okay, it was 37.5. So I was like, anyway, so we got back into the line. And after this line, we got around the building where they were doing the actual testing. So once we got to that line, that's when they first do the blood test for you. So they will take your form. And they make sure when they fill out the valve for your blood sample, they put your name correctly. They asked me to make sure like, hey, this is how they spell your name. And they put my, I believe, date of birth. So they were just making sure like the information is correct. So they made sure they put all your information down, the correct name and date of birth. So I'm glad that they did the double checking to make sure that they have the right person. So once you go through that station, the next step is for you to go into the nasal swab and the throat swab. So there are 2 lines for that one. And for this line, what I noticed is that they were doing the throat swab for the senior citizens and then the nasal swab for younger people. But when she tried to put the nasal strip in mine, I just started like, it was a little uncomfortable. So I just pulled back the first time. She's like, it's okay. And then she removed that one and did another one on my other nostril. And I pulled back again because it was kind of uncomfortable. And then I told her, can you do the throat? And then I'm like, can you just do it in the throat instead? And she was like, okay. So she just did the 3rd one in my throat. So I was pretty happy about that because in the nose, I mean, it's not uncomfortable. First of all, there's no pain. If you can take the little blood sample, you can take a nose swab. It's just that it was obviously uncomfortable to like have them dig in there. But yeah, that was the whole experience. So once I was done with the nasal swab, which they took the form and they had all my information down, we were free to go. But yeah, it took us about an hour and a half, and that was it. So I think it was really well done. Aside from the heat, I think it was really efficient. We got in and out pretty quickly. So I think it was a really good and easy process to get tested. So if you haven't done that yet, I hope that this video helps you and gives you some insight of what you can expect. If you guys did get tested too, let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.